Africa.
Have you helped quench the thirst of your Muslim brother? Sponsor a water well for only 9,500 rands in Africa, or a borehole for only 40,000 rands. Special monthly payments can be arranged. Contact Africa Muslims Agency on 011 834 8685. Africa Muslims Agency, the agency that cares.
So we're ready to do this to Grip 3D, AMA, a Direct Aid International. Ultimately, it's the agency that cares. Can we count to three? One, two, three. There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
The agency that cares.
In partnership with AMA Direct Aid International on the journey, it was a landmark occasion today, the launch of Grip 3D, and how grateful I am as a parent that my son ultimately becomes a recipient. Our National Director of AMA Direct Aid International, for a chat, maybe some perspective. Mr. Junada, once again, always an honor to have you on the show.
Absolute pleasure.
Wonderful occasion today, fantastic attendance. Not that that is important, but I think maybe just for the benefit of the viewers, the importance of this project Grip 3D.
Well, MJ, again, you know, when I think about it, I was just chatting to somebody else right now as well, and I think the important thing is, you know, we mustn't forget why it started. I mean, you know, Dr. Vincent was sitting in a refugee camp with some fellow doctors, medical professionals, doing a cleft lip and palate operation on a 15-year-old boy, Nawaf, who came out of conflict area, of course, as we know, in that part of the world, and pretty much had lost his hand, his left eye, fingers on his other hand, his face was disfigured, and this boy had lost hope for life. And Dr. Vincent, sitting next to his bed at the time, looked at this boy and thought, wow, maybe we could do something to get some mobility. So this child had to sit at home as a 15-year-old boy all the time. So when Dr. Vincent came back and you know, we kind of met incidentally, and he suggested to me, hey, you know what, I heard of a guy in Pretoria called Richard van As, who used 3D printing technology when he lost his fingers to be able to create a 3D printed hand, literally a mechanical aid for himself and for other people. Like, why don't we do this? Why don't we do something like this for this little boy in the refugee camp in the Middle East? And we thought, well, okay, why not? Well, let's find out about it. Like, I mean, hey, I'm always open to new stuff. Let's give it a shot and see. You never know where the path may lead you. And then, of course, because I'm the director of Africa Muslim Aid International, we were now, of course, then we had gone through some hoops and kind of got the 3D printer and got all excited about what we're going to do, you know, internationally with all of this and help kids. And then, of course, you had me on your show at that time, and you know, we were talking about the project, and I mean, I had no words after that interview when you kind of came up to me and said, hey, you know what, my son actually has a condition called ABS, and I never heard of it before in my life. And I just thought, I mean, I would never in my wildest dreams have thought about it. And when you brought it to my attention, I thought, well, why not? Like, let's just see what this could do. I mean, why not? And I'm so excited. You and your wonderful family, and of course the Sunday family as well, amazing people, actually allowed your sons to be part of this refinement process, if you want. I don't want to call it a trial process, a refinement process, to refine this device, to be able to make it more robust, let the kids break it and kind of fiddle with it and whatever the case is, and just see where this could go. For me, on a personal level, I'm very focused on kids' self-esteem, the whole concept, the sense of self-worth. I really believe adults today struggle with a sense of self-worth and self-esteem, and I believe it starts a lot by what we teach kids. And so for me, a big passion is how we bring up kids and what we teach them. And so when I saw your son, and of course Saif Ali as well, I really got excited about, okay, how do we know the damage has been done to this child by constantly having to hide his hand behind, by being ostracized by fellow kids, and kids can be very challenging to each other at school. And I thought, wait a second, okay, yeah, we'll give him a mechanical aid, but for me, I'm more excited about this human being has amazing potential. What is he going to unlock inside of him that you and I don't even know about? It may not be that he will use the mechanical aid forever. He may graduate to a different device later on in his life as he grows up. However, if we could be the seed of his self-esteem being developed, wow, that'd be incredible. That's what I'm excited about, particularly.
Wonderful. Many congratulations on the project.
Absolutely.
And I think personally from my side, many thanks for making my son a recipient of Grip 3D.
Absolute pleasure, and want to thank the donors and the viewers, because without, you know, again, without the funding, I mean, we often joke about that, but without the funding, to be really frank, it's not easy to do the stuff without the funding. So the funding is required. So I would encourage everybody to continuously donate through Direct Aid International African Muslim Agency, because you don't know what we're going to come up with tomorrow that's going to benefit some people, and we all collectively can be part of the process of benefiting from there. Yeah, fantastic.
Absolutely wonderful. The Journey TV show catching up with Direct Aid International, our national director on the show. No strangers, been with us now plenty of times on the show. Access the website africanmuslimsagency.co.za or directaidinternational.co.za. It's the agency that cares. As a parent, as a father, as a mother, as a family member, to understand that you've been blessed with a child born with a disability. I've learned over the years, coming into contact with Paralympic athletes, that there is ability in every disability.
The agency that cares.
A story which I think is very interesting, and in your lifetime, if you allow yourself to go on a path which is not preordained for you, but you don't resist, it's amazing where you can go to. To meet people like Imran, to have Direct Aid International being our funder, our sponsor, our friend, is fantastic. I couldn't have asked for more. Let me just go back to September 2014. I went on a mission to Lebanon, to the Badawi camp in the north of Lebanon, in Tripoli, just outside Tripoli, with the Palestine Children's Relief Fund, which we have a branch here in Cape Town running. Abigail is here with me. She's one of the members on the actual committee that we started. And we were operating on a boy, Nawaf Abdullah. We operated on his mouth because we were going there for cleft lip and palate work. Being an orthodontist, I could add some value to that type of operation. But at the same time, noticed that he was missing a right hand. So his hand was gone, left fingers were gone, left eye was closed completely, shrapnel injuries on his face, being caught in a barrel bomb explosion in Syria 2-3 years before, and then fled to Lebanon and settled in the camp. That started the whole process, thinking about that, coming back to South Africa, thinking about there was an instance here in South Africa where an artificial hand was formed, and then started inquiries. Where did this start? Who's the person who started it? Richard van As is the person who started a big organization called Robo Hand, which is well known not only in South Africa but overseas, also in America. He cut off 4 fingers on his right hand about 4 years ago and decided he needed to develop some form of aid mechanism that wouldn't cost an arm and a leg, that he could use to make himself more functionally capable. So I decided it was a good thing to go and be trained with him. And Imran, fortunately then, I got his ear and he was immediately okay with it. Brought Richard van As to Cape Town and ran a course here of training. Various members are on it, Ren was on it, I was on it, a few other OTs are on it. And basically got the basic training in how to put the hand together. Went up for further training. Imran was happy to agree that I went up and did workshop training on the 3D printer itself and how to get the computerization organized, etc. Because it's such cutting edge technology, I'm only at 3 minutes, by the way. Because it's such cutting edge technology and it's very new, it's difficult to turn to anybody for help because they don't know, first of all, what you're talking about and what's going on. And the few people who do know sometimes are quite distant from you. They're in Johannesburg, maybe you don't have the time. So slowly but surely, with patience from Imran's side, we're getting our act together and getting everything ironed out, from drivers on computers with Windows 8 not working properly, going to Windows 10, then loading it on Apple Mac. So you've got to go through that whole learning process, but we are getting there. Basically that then led us to the situation where we could start to produce these hands. In other words, the blue part is the printed part by a 3D printer. The white part is the thermoplast part which we custom fitted to each client's hand. Notice I call them a client, not a patient. Okay? This is a mechanical device. It's not a prosthesis. We've been quite careful about that because we don't want the medical, people to say you should be registered with council and be, making prosthesis. It's an aid. So basically, we could then start to print out these hands, and fortunately, Saif Sonde, Mr. Sonde, and Saif Li are the first two recipients, children recipients, that we've actually made here in Cape Town. So for us, it's a learning process. I must thank that we make certain parts of it and redo certain parts, but it's a process that you go through. Life is a learning process, and you have to just accept that you'll make some mistakes as long as you go back and change them and correct them and get a better result. So they have fortunately helped us in many ways to actually advance the whole program for other people who will come afterwards. I'm very pleased to see that in South Africa, this is seen as a thing that you want to be proud of, expose it, and other people think that you are fantastic, you're better than them, you've got this robotic hand, etc. Unfortunately, in the Middle East, the attitude is quite different. They want to hide it. They say, no, it's a disability that we don't want to show. They'll either put it behind their back or they won't wear it at all. So we're even working on a type of silicone glove that you can get from Germany that's got detail of your fingernails, your creases, the skin tones, etc. They can pull over this to make it look more acceptable, depending upon which community and what your cultural background is. Unfortunately, the glove costs a bit more, but there's a possibility that we can go that way. So there are advances and developments that can actually take place. So basically, once we've got the hand made for the client that we've actually chosen, we then start the process of getting them used to it, getting them starting to use the wrist joint, which is going to be able to flex like that and close the fingers. And you'll see that, let me just put this down a second. You'll see that the fingers will move depending upon how the wrist joint there is activating the actual device. So that their potential is to be able to grip something. And that is why we call Grip 3D, as the name of our project. Once we hope that the clients have got used to it and they've refined it in such a way that they can use it with a lot of things that they couldn't do before, with time they'll grow out of it. And we know that we're going to have to replace them as they get older. You're going to have to make more hands. So hence we'll have to recycle these things. Because these hands take quite a while to put together, 8 to 10 hours maybe of time to put together, we need to spread the load to other people. So we're always looking for volunteers, especially OTs, who can help us with how these things are supposed to work. They've had a lot of professional training. Another thing that we've just got involved in is a 3D scanner. So Imran has been kind enough to accept that this would be a great forward movement. The 3D scanner fits onto my iPhone. Okay? I can 3D scan any disability or any arm that a person, hand or whatever it is, email that back to South Africa. I may be in the Middle East, email it back here. Renisha can start printing out the deformed arm on the actual 3D printer and then work on that rather than making a plaster of Paris mold. You'll see inside in the room we started off with plaster of Paris molds. Now to lug that back from the Middle East in your luggage is a problem. You see half a dozen of those clients, it's going to be a lot of weight. So we go on the 3D route now, which is the obvious way to go. It has a lot of possibilities because we could establish satellite branches in Durban, Cape Town, in Joburg, etc. They could scan people who have got deformities. We could then build the hand in Cape Town and send it back to them. But we need OTs. We need people who can professionally actually get this done properly. So that's a brief overview from my point of view. I don't want to go too much further. I think Renisha will tell you more about the application of it, etc. But basically the idea that was born came back to South Africa. It didn't have the idea that I'd be standing here today actually saying this, and I must thank Direct Aid, AMA, for their assistance. I must thank the other people that have been very kind in helping us. Ren especially been giving up her time. It's a pleasure to be here.
The Journey TV show attending the launch officially of Grip 3D. Wonderful project launched, initiated by AMA Direct Aid International, one of our partners on the Journey TV show, LOFOB, also located in South Africa. Over 80 years of service that they've delivered to communities across the country. Executive Director Armando Bam. Mr. Bam, how are you? You well, sir?
I'm well, thank you for having me.
I think it's indeed a pleasure and honor that you could have attended proceedings today. Your impression?
This is extremely exciting for me within the disability sector to see people taking on a project which is meaningful and delivers something, I want to say instantaneously, but delivers a whole lot quicker than I think what is currently there. And that really excites me, that we've got these young kids who have got something practical and aid that will assist them really to be children.
Now, we've caught up with yourself and with LOFOB a couple of occasions in 2015. We've also managed to forge a relationship and a partnership with the disabled sport in South Africa, and currently as we speak it's the national championships for our disabled athletes taking place in Bloemfontein. And what we've learned from our disabled athletes, so-called disabled athletes from LOFOB and even with AMA Direct Aid, that there is ability in every disability, and the fact that we should appreciate those small little things, those fine little things in life maybe that we take for granted from time to time. And for over 80 years LOFOB has practically been spearheading so many of those campaigns as well.
Yeah, we're 83 years this year. I mean, I stand on the shoulders of giants, the people who started the organization and the intention. You know, that's something that we're trying to build on and enhance. And like you say, within disability there's a lot of ability, and for me that's encouraging to see. And you talk about sports, we're busy preparing for the Blind Cricket World Cup in India at the end of the year, and that just highlights again, I know one of the Cobras cricketers were here. Our Western Province cricket team also participates and plays at Newland, so there's a lot happening within the sector that just highlights people's ability and their contribution and the value that they add to society.
Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
We definitely will be meeting up later on in the year as well.
Wonderful, and good luck for the show.
The agency that cares.
Good afternoon, everyone. Definitely something I'm learning is how to be in front of the mic and the camera from this project. I've never done this much talking and interviewing before, so I'm really appreciating growing my skills. I'm here to mainly talk about the impact we hope to have with Gripped, and it really comes down to how many people are willing to trust us. And the amazing thing is that we have a team that exudes trust. You know, the welcoming receptionist in the front, the person, sort of the parents feel very welcome from the start. So, and what we ultimately would like is for every ABS, which is amniotic band syndrome, any child born with amniotic band syndrome, to have an opportunity to use a low-cost device, just like this, that's quite durable and that can be changed as they grow, so that every child has one. So at the moment in South Africa, we're not entirely sure of the stats of how many children are born, but the stats globally are 1 in every 15,000 births, live births. So it can become a condition that you can't see, but at the same time, it's not something that you would notice immediately. It's not someone in a wheelchair or someone. It's quite subtle. And what we would like to just is offer these young kids an opportunity to really just learn the movements, the motor patterns, and the necessary skills to be able to use a device and participate in activities that they've always wanted to do. Apart from that, anyone who's had any kind of trauma, adults who later on in life have lost part of their limbs. At the moment, we just need one working joint, whether that's your elbow or your wrist. It needs to be working to power the device. And I think that's an amazing thing about this project, is that while other devices are much more costly. They don't really do anything, they just look nice. So you will get a very static hand that just looks nice that you can put on your hand, but it does nothing for you. It's just so you can stick in your pocket, or you can, you know, hold, take a photo. But it doesn't, it's not powered, you can't use it, it's no function. Yes. And this is why, as an occupational therapist, I love projects like this because it adds meaning to people's lives. Saifullah came to us saying, I really want to learn how to tie my own shoelaces. And I said, excellent, that's a perfect goal. Let's go for it, you know, and we're getting there slowly. At the moment, we are just running in Cape Town. What we hope to do is to train up some volunteers, professional volunteers, to be able to run satellites, as Dr. Vincent Joseph has mentioned, in other parts of South Africa. And if we are fortunate enough to take it further than that, I know Direct Aid is an amazing partner and are so driven by innovation that how we develop our satellites are also going to be quite exciting. So with technology these days, anything is possible. Thank you for your time, and thank you that I am part of all of this. MJ.
Okay, well, I think just a few minutes on that point, of course. You know, I think Dr. Vincent and Renisha covered a lot of that. And if you have any questions when we're done here in the next few minutes, then I would encourage you to interact with them and interact with the families of these two young boys as well, just to get some perspective, because I mean, to be really honest, I really didn't know much about ABS. I really had no idea, actually, when you really think about it. And actually, let me just share a very personal incident. I was sitting doing an interview with M.J.Li on his TV channel, The Journey TV show, and I was sitting with him doing an interview about this concept of a mechanical aid that Dr. Vincent was kind of excited about, and how we were going to partner with this and that kind of stuff. What we're going to do in, you know, outside of South Africa, funny enough. And when the interview was done, I mean, who would have thought, you know, I mean, like, who plans these things? I mean, in the whole end, I mean, who would have thought, as the interview is done, MJ came up to me and he said, would you mind if my son was part of this project? And it just gobsmacked me. I just could not. I was like, what do you mean your son? Like, I mean, I'm thinking about, you know, in a refugee camp somewhere, and of course he comes up with it, and I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, this is the kind of situation. And I said, of course, 100%. And you know, to be really honest, from our perspective, you know, if you don't want me to speak about the way forward for 10 minutes, I'm not going to take 10 minutes. It will take 5 minutes to say that the way forward is whatever it needs to be. We're going to get this thing done. I mean, this is from our side. I am so passionate and excited about this, because when you make a difference to a child's life, or anybody's life for that matter, when you impact their life, there's no reward big enough. When you think about it, there's nothing big enough that that person can do for you in this world anyway that could reward you for that kind of feeling. So from our side, Dr. Vincent, Renisha, from Direct Aid side, AMA side, it does not matter to us what we're going to have to put behind this project to see it through, to get it done. We want to see it to its end, to whatever it can possibly be for a child or for another human being. Because think about it, guys, ladies and gentlemen, just for a second. If you didn't have the use of one of your hands, I mean, just think about it for a second, how they would limit your life. What would it do to you if you did not have your one hand? Any hand for that matter. And try it maybe for a week, just tie your hand up and decide to live your life that way. And it's a very, very different life. Now forget the physical side of it. What does it do for your self-esteem? Your sense of self-worth. For me, that's a big passion for me, is developing people, developing young people. And when I see a young child, and my first thought is, whatever's going on in that person's heart, that boy's heart, that girl's heart or mind, how is it affecting the way they see themselves? Because I've learned over time that the way you see yourself is more important than anything else, the way you're going to end up in life. What you do, your abilities are determined by how you see yourself. If you see yourself as someone who cannot do stuff, you won't. If you see yourself as someone who can, you will. Yeah? And that's going to make a difference in these young kids' lives. But anyway, the point really is to say that, okay, so that's kind of, we're going to throw as much as we can behind this, whatever technology is available. I mean, you know, we want to say thank you to Richard van As up in Pretoria. When Dr. Vincent came back, he researched, found Richard van As, who developed the technology, using 3D technology. He developed this whole, he called it Robo Hand, by the way. That's his trademark name for the actual device. And we want to thank him, because when you think about it for a second, that guy went and did that because he lost his fingers, and because of that, kids' lives are being changed today. So when you really think about it, it's going to make a massive, massive, massive difference. I would encourage every one of you to be aware of this and to be able to contribute towards the project, because we as Direct Aid or AMA are 100% behind this to whatever we need to do. And I respect Renisha so much and Dr. Vincent so much for the sacrifices they make. If they had to bill us by the hour for their time, we would have to reevaluate. It's like, so to be honest, they do not bill us a cent. And you should know that as members of the public or the media, they do not bill us 1 cent for their time. And I'm saying that publicly just in case.
It's the launch of Grip 3D courtesy of AMA Direct Aid International, the Cape Town office. My son, fortunately, a recipient of this landmark project and occasion. Wonderful. So over the last 2 seasons or so, we've managed to catch up with Cobra's cricketers, part of that feature that we do on a Friday night, where we show you the gees and the vibe at PPC Newlands. So Shaheen Khan, Cobra's cricketer, he joined us earlier for the launch of Grip 3D. Shaheen, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
What do you make of this project, Grip 3D?
It's amazing. Just to hear that the amount of lives that they affected, it's truly inspiring, and it kind of gives you a new energy on life. Like, you just want to help people and stuff. I'm truly impressed with what they've done, and I mean they've saved some. I don't know. He looks like another guy now, happy. He wants to take me on arm wrestling. So,
and he's probably going to beat you, eh?
Probably, yeah.
He actually just admitted now, because he took the Grip 3D sample to school a couple of weeks ago, and then he came back home at the end of the day, and 2 of the fingers broke. And I only found out right now that it's because he was doing arm wrestling with some of the grade 5 or 6 learners, and he's only grade 2. But I mean, if you look at, say, if he likes cricket, okay, he manages to sneak away some of your balls at the nets when they're done training, the Cobras that he normally goes with. But he would obviously require an extra grip on the bat. But I think just looking at cricket, and the fact that you are a batsman, you bowl as well, and let's not forget that, okay? But the fact that you'll be able to grip a bat now, because with one hand a bit difficult, this is a fantastic aid.
Yeah, obviously now he's twice as good. He has 2 hands. So I think he'll just need extra grip, and yeah, that's it. I think he shouldn't have much of a problem.
The agency that cares.